Hey, Star Wars fans, David Collins here. Welcome back to more of the Star Wars Show live at Star Wars Celebration in London. I am standing here with a legend in Star Wars, a legend in the film business. Yeah, where'd he go? Well, there he is, supervising sound editor, voice actor, voice director. Need I go on? This is the Matthew Wood. You know him, you love him. Matthew, welcome to the stage of Star Wars Show Live.
Thank you, David. I'm really happy to be here, man. It's like celebration crazy here. I can't believe how many new and exciting Star Wars things I've seen the whole time I've been here.
It's amazing. And not to mention everybody out here. How's everybody doing out here? You guys good?
Yes.
You all know Matthew Wood? Yeah, give it up for Matthew Wood. So you've been very busy. Not only did you just finish Star Wars The Force Awakens, but you wasted no time in moving on to...
right now, we're working on a few things. Actually, at Skywalker, we've been doing Star Wars Rebels. You know, we're deep into season 3.
Yes.
We're doing Star Wars episode, our Star Wars story of Rogue One. We're starting up on episode 8, and then also we're working on the Freemaker Lego series. So, whole bunch of Star Wars in the pipeline, and it's just been, I basically married my job, so that's my life these days.
You're just always, and you've been here actually in London for a while, working on not just Rogue One, but episode 8, and everything here from Celebration, is that right? What's that been like?
I'm over at Pinewood Studios. I've set up a little voiceover booth to record actors as we're doing shooting for both 8 and Rogue. Just keeping it, just trying to maximize the time with everybody. And then, at the same time, in the back of my mind, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. So I'm like, wow, I just worked with the whole cast of both shows, and it's really fun.
So yeah, let's talk a little bit about that, because that's a really exciting area. You've been voice directing, essentially, a lot of the actors, of course, on The Force Awakens, but on these new movies as well.
Right.
Your Star Wars fandom, and of course your experience in having touched all the Star Wars movies at this point, really, how does that come in handy? I have to imagine that's a huge asset.
There's a lot of times where we'll say, something will come up where we're going to do a line of something like, was that Star Wars friendly? And if I don't have, I obviously have Pablo on speed dial and Leland Shee on speed dial, but if in the moment there, it's like, I can make a decision too myself as far as just being familiar with the Star Wars universe, being a huge fan as a kid, and then now it's coming up on 26 years of working in this field with Star Wars. So, it's all in there. It's all packed in there somewhere.
You become one of the pillars of Star Wars lore and knowledge, especially when it comes to sound. Having worked with Ben Burtt all the way back to, what was your first year with Ben Burtt?
I worked in about 1990. I was working on a lot of the early stuff with Young Indiana Jones Chronicles with Ben. I learned a lot. That was sort of our testing ground to make the prequels, was that show. And then we did, of course, all the prequels, special editions and everything. And then the Clone Wars took us through all the way after Revenge of the Sith, working with Dave Filoni, who's just an incredible, keeper of the holocron himself, and a wonderful person and director, and has just kept Star Wars alive. And now we're doing the movies, one a year. It's a crazy amount of work.
Unbelievable.
I'm living a dream, man. Sometimes I feel like what is going on? Like my 5-year-old self from 1977 seeing the film would never have had this kind of dream to be able to be involved in this such a way.
And this new era of Star Wars, what's the atmosphere or the energy like at Pinewood Studios on a daily basis? Do you get a feel for that?
Oh, it's exciting, especially after the success of Force Awakens. I think it really bolstered everybody, and it's you're working on something special. You're going to have the cream of the crop of the crew to work with, and everyone, but at the same time, it's a job that we all come to every day, and you want to just put your best foot forward, and everyone's really doing that.
That's great, and I want to talk about another really cool show that you are working on. We just had a panel about this.
Yeah.
Lego Star Wars, The Freemaker Adventures. For those of you that haven't seen the show, Lego Star Wars, The Freemaker Adventures, it's been released in some territories. It has not been released yet in the UK.
Not in the UK, yeah.
But we got to see some footage today. Some of us have got to see some episodes. Can you talk a little bit about that show and your role in the show?
Sure, yeah. I play a character on that. I do sound consultation myself and David Acord, who's the co-sound designer of Force Awakens, a really good friend of mine. So we're giving sound effects to make sure the sound feels like it's in that Star Wars universe, which is what the sound is a really good part of doing. But I also play one of the characters on there. It's a character called ROGR, and he's a
Roger.
Battle droid. He's Roger.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a reconditioned battle droid from the Clone Wars, and the show takes place in between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and it's a little family of scavengers that are kind of making their way in the universe, and one of their best buddies is Roger, the battle droid, and so I got to be part of that, and to also be part of the that team, and to bring back a character from the Clone Wars, which is so dear to me. I really enjoyed working on that. To have a battle droid that gets to survive more than one episode and is actually a sympathetic good guy has been a dream to play.
Yeah, and we showed some clips of Roger, and I could imagine you must have said, "Drop your weapons" so many times, and then you just get blown away. So many death yells, and now you get to have this fully fledged character.
He gets to bake cookies. He gets to babysit the main character. He gets to learn about the lore of the battle droids were actually the bad guys, and for him he always thought they were good guys. And I actually played it that way, that the battle droids were the good guys. I tried to
all along you've always played it that way.
I tried to find sympathy in them, and the beauty about the Roger character and the battle droids both in Clone Wars is that they didn't have a mouth. So there was a lot of times where Dave Filoni, when I was working on the post-production of the sound, he'd say, "You know what, surprise me with something, because we don't have to reanimate to put a new line in there." So there'd be a lot of little quips and lines of dialogue and improvisation you can do with animation, which was so fun. And we can do that on Freemakers as well.
I also think it's really interesting, something you mentioned about being a sound, you're a consultant basically on the show, but you've done a lot of the sound work yourself.
Right.
That's a really unique feature to working with Lucasfilm nowadays, it seems. Can you talk a little bit about the central story group and the ability to work with people like you, like Doug Chang, for example, being on the art, and how what that brings to a lot of projects like Freemaker?
Well, we try to keep the Star Wars special. I mean, Skywalker Sound, where I work in Northern California, we do sound for all kinds of films. We do Marvel, we do Pixar. We have a Sundance series out there where we bring new young filmmakers in to learn the art of sound and what it can provide for you for a movie. But Star Wars we keep special. Ben Burt created some fantastic sounds over the last 40 years that we have in our library. David Acord and Gary Rystrom have all contributed to this library that we have. And we kind of keep it very sacred, so you don't hear those sounds in other movies, and it's just a way to give you that special, emotional, almost subliminal feel to Star Wars. When you see a TIE fighter, it's going to sound like a TIE fighter. Like that scene in Force Awakens where, Finn is telling Rey to hush because he hears something coming when they're on Jakku, and it's the TIE fighter. And, if that sound had been used in a million movies, it wouldn't have that special feel. But when you hear a TIE fighter, it's a TIE fighter. So it's our job to create new sounds that have that same patina, that have that same feeling. They have to be an instant classic almost, and because it's going to be listened to and watched a million times. But we try to really retain that special quality of the original work.
Well, if Star Wars The Force Awakens or The Clone Wars or Rebels or Freemaker or anything else that you're working on is any example, I'd say you're doing a great job. It's always a great time talking to you and listening to your stories. It's just a pleasure to chat with you again.
Well, I look forward to working with you soon again. These guys, I brought all the Clone Wars people together, including yourself.
Yeah.
We've got to get your voice in the next film.
Oh, yeah, we love that. Okay, that sounds great. More Star Wars show on the way.
Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.